Everyone celebrated my cousin's promotion while ignoring me. So I stood and shared a secret that shut down their cheers in an instant. That I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep. Haven't been able to for weeks. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I need to get it out. Maybe someone will read this and think twice before making the same mistake that destroyed my entire. It started at my cousin Jake's promotion party. Right? The whole thing began because I felt invisible at a family gathering. I know how pathetic that sounds now. Sarah had been my girlfriend for 4 years. We just moved in together 6 months earlier. She was excited about Jake's new job as regional manager, kept talking about how proud she was of him. Meanwhile, I'd been passed over for a promotion at my own company 3 times that year. 3 times. Isn't it amazing? Sarah kept saying, squeezing my arm, Jake worked so hard for this. I smiled and nodded, but inside I was burning. Nobody asked about my job. Nobody cared that I'd been putting in 60-hour weeks trying to prove. It was all Jake. That's when I noticed Emma. She was Jake's coworker, mid-20s blonde, wearing this red dress that probably cost more than my rent. But it wasn't her looks that got to me first. It was the way she listened when I started complaining about work. Sound way more qualified than most managers I know, she said, touching my shoulder. Ah, God. It felt good to hear that. Sarah never said things like that anymore. She'd gotten tired of my complaints, started changing the subject whenever I brought work frustrations. But Emma hung on every word. Want to get some air? She asked when the living room got too crowded. Looked like could use a break from all the Jake worship. We stepped onto Jake's back deck. The music was muffled now, just bass thumping through the walls. Emma lit a cigarette and offered me one. I don't smoke, but I took it anyway. So what story? She asked. Seemed different from the rest of Jake's family. Different how? More interesting, more real. I should have gone back inside right then. Should have found Sarah and suggested we leave early. Instead, I stayed on that deck for an hour, talking about everything Sarah had stopped caring about. My dreams, my frustrations, my plans. Emma made me feel like the most fascinating person alive. When we finally went back inside, Sarah was helping clean. She barely looked at me. Where were? She asked while loading the dishwasher. Jake just talking to Emker. Sarah nodded absently. She seems nice. Very outgoing. I caught something in her tone but I ignored it. I was still high from Emma's attention. The next morning Emma texted me, just a simple, great talking to last night, with a smiley face. I stared at that message for 10 minutes before responding. Over the next 2 weeks the text became daily, then hourly. Emma would send me funny memes during work, ask about my day, remember details from our conversations that Sarah had forgotten years ago. My boyfriend never listens like do, Emma wrote one afternoon. Wait, she had a boyfriend? Have a boyfriend, I texted back. Unfortunately. But he's nothing like, we're so much more mature, more ambitious. I knew this was wrong. I knew I was crossing lines I'd never crossed before. But Emma made me feel like the man I wanted to be instead of the failure I felt like at home. The emotional affair lasted 3 weeks before it became physical. It happened at Emma's apartment. She'd invited me over to help her move some furniture, while her boyfriend was out of town. The moment I walked through her door, I knew what was really gonna happen. I've been thinking about constantly, she said, stepping close enough that I could smell her perfume. I should have left. Should have thought about Sarah making dinner plans for us that same night. Should have remembered the way Sarah's eyes lit when she talked about our future together. Instead I stayed. What happened next lasted 2 hours but destroyed 4 years of my. The guilt hit me the second I got in my car. Not just guilt about Sarah, but about Emma's boyfriend too. Some guy named David who'd dating her for over a year. A guy who had no idea his girlfriend was texting another man inviting him over, betraying everything they'd built together. I drove around for 3 hours before going home, trying to figure out what to tell Sarah. How to act normal, how to pretend nothing had changed when everything had changed. Sarah was on the couch watching Netflix when I walked in. How was helping Emma move? She asked without looking from her show. The casual trust in her almost broke me right there. Fine. I managed, just some heavy lifting. That was sweeter to help her out. Sarah patted the couch next to her. Come watch this with me. It's that documentary about serial killers wanted to see. I sat down next to the woman I'd been planning to propose to and pretended to care about Ted Bundy while my phone buzzed with texts from Emma. Tonight was incredible. When can we see each other again? I can't stop thinking about. Each message felt like a twisting deeper. Not because I regretted what happened, but because part of me didn't regret it at all. Part of me was already planning when I could see Emma again. That's the thing nobody tells about cheating. The guilt doesn't stop. It just makes while keep doing it anyway. Sarah fell asleep against my shoulder halfway through the documentary. I looked down at her peaceful face and wondered how long I could keep lying to someone who loved me this much. The answer, it turns out, was exactly 12 more days. Should I continue with part 2? Let me know when you're ready for the next chapter where everything comes crashing down. Those 12 days felt like 12 years. Every morning I'd wake next to Sarah and feel like a stranger in my own skin. She'd me goodbye, tell me she loved me, and I'd smile back knowing I was living a complete lie. Emma and I met twice more during that period. Once at a hotel downtown, once at her place again when David was working late. Each time the guilt got heavier. But so did my addiction to how Emma made me feel. Important, desired, like I mattered. Sarah started noticing changes. Little things at first. Seemed distant lately, she said one evening while we're making dinner together. Everything okay? Just work stress. I lied, not meeting her eyes. She set down her and turned to face me fully. No can talk to me about anything, right? We're a team. The word team hit me like some team. She was playing by the rules while I was cheating at the game. I know, I said, forcing a smile. I'm fine really, but I wasn't fine. I was checking my phone constantly, jumping every time it buzzed. I'd started deleting Emma's messages immediately after reading them. I'd changed my passcode for the first time in years, claiming I wanted better security. Sarah never questioned it. She trusted me completely. The beginning of the end came on a Tuesday. Emma texted during lunch, David's gonna be out of town this weekend. Want to spend Saturday together, like the whole day. My stomach dropped. Saturday was Sarah's birthday. We'd made reservations at her favorite restaurant weeks ago. She'd been excited about it for days, talking about finally trying their new tasting menu. Can't, I texted back. It's Sarah's birthday. So, said things were getting stale with her anyway. Had I said that? Looking back, I probably had during one of my complaining sessions. But seeing it in text made me realize how awful it sounded. Maybe Sunday. I found typing. Perfect. I'll make it worth the wait. I stared at that message and wondered who I'd become. 6 weeks earlier, I would have been excited about celebrating Sarah's birthday. Now I was mentally calculating how quickly I could get through her dinner so I could plan my next betrayal. Saturday arrived. Sarah woke glowing excited about her day. She'd gotten her hair done the day before. Bought a new dress specifically for dinner. Thank for making these reservations, she said, hugging me while I made her birthday breakfast. I know been stressed about work lately, but still made sure to plan something special for me. The irony was suffocating. Dinner was. Sarah looked beautiful across from me, talking about her dreams for the future. Our future. She mentioned wanting to travel together, maybe look at engagement rings soon, how happy she was that we'd found each other. Every word felt like an accusation. My phone buzzed. Emma sending photos of lingerie she'd bought for our Sunday meetup. I excused to the bathroom and deleted the messages, but not before they burned themselves into my brain. When I came back, Sarah was looking at me with concern. I've been checking phone all night, she said gently. As we're calling. Sorry, I said, putting the phone face down. Alright, tonight's about. She reached across the table and took my hand. I love so much. I'm so lucky to have. I squeezed her hand and told her I loved her too. The words felt like ash in my mouth. Sunday came. I told Sarah I had to help my dad with some home repairs. Another lie in an endless chain of lies. Emma's apartment felt different that day. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was the way the afternoon light made everything look harsh and artificial. For the first time, what we were doing felt genuinely wrong instead of exciting. Seemed distracted, Emma said afterward as we lay in her bed. Just thinking. About Sarah, I nodded. Emma rolled onto her side to face me. No, this can't go on forever, right? Eventually you'll have to choose. What do you mean? I mean can't keep living a double. It's eating alive. I can see it. She was right, but I didn't want to hear it. What about him? Emma shrugged. I'm not in love with David. I thought I was, but being with made me realize the difference. My went cold. Emma, we never talked about leaving our partners. Didn't we? She sat, suddenly looking more serious than I'd ever seen her. What did think this was? Just fun. I've been falling for. This was spiraling out of control. I thought we were both just escaping our relationships temporarily. I never imagined Emma was seeing this as something permanent. I care about, I said carefully, but Sarah and I have 4 years together. We live together, we're talking about marriage. Emma's expression hardened. So just using me? No, that's not. Yes, it is. Get to feel good about with me. Then go home and play house with girlfriend. I started getting dressed. This conversation needed to end. Where are going? Emma demanded. Home, this is getting too complicated. Complicated. Emma laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Think can just walk away now. Pretend this never happened. Emma, please, let's just take a break and figure things out. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something shifted in her eyes. Something cold. No, alright. We should end this. I felt relief flood through me. I think that's best for everyone. Emma smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. In fact, I think everyone should know it's ending. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I mean Sarah deserves to know what kind of man she's planning to marry. And David deserves to know why I've been so distant lately. Panic hit me like a freight train. Emma, I can't, watch me. I tried reasoning with her, pleading with her, promising her anything she wanted if she'd just keep quiet. But Emma had made her mind. I'll give 24 hours, she said as I stood by her door. Either tell them, or I will. At least if tell them can control how the story gets told. I drove home in a haze. 24 hours to figure out how to tell the woman I loved that I'd been betraying her for weeks. 24 hours to find words that didn't exist for what I'd done. Sarah was cooking dinner when I walked in. She looked and smiled, completely unaware that her world was about to end. How was Dad's place? She asked. Get everything fixed. I stood in our kitchen, surrounded by the we'd built together, and realized I had less than a day left of being the man Sarah thought she loved. Yeah, I whispered. Everything's fixed now. I'd never told a bigger lie in my. Ready for part 3 where the truth comes out and everything falls apart. Let me know when want to continue to see how this all crashes down. I didn't sleep that night, couldn't. I lay next to Sarah, listening to her peaceful breathing, knowing it might be the last time I'd ever hear it. Every hour that ticked by felt like a countdown to the end of my. By morning, I'd made my decision. I had to tell Sarah. At least that way I could control the narrative. Make it sound less awful somehow. But when Sarah woke and stretched against me, smiling that sleepy smile I'd fallen in love with years ago, the words died in my throat. Good morning, handsome, she whispered, kissing my cheek. We're tossing and turning all night. Bad dreams. Something like that. I managed. She made coffee and toast, humming while she moved around the kitchen. So normal, so trusting. So completely unaware that in a few hours I was going to destroy her. I kept trying to find the right moment all morning, but how to bring something like that? Hey, remember that coworker of Jake's I've been talking to? Well, funny story. My phone buzzed at 11 a.m. Emma. TikTok have until tonight. My hands were shaking as I deleted the message. Who was that? Sarah asked, looking from her laptop where she was working on a presentation. Just spam. I lied another lie. They came so easily now. The day dragged on. Every time I looked at Sarah I saw flashes of the future I was about to destroy. No more lazy Sunday mornings. No more inside jokes. No more planning vacations we'd never take. 4 p.m. My phone rang. Jake. Hey man, wanna grab drinks tonight? Emma's bringing some friends from work. Could be fun. My turn to ice. Uma's gonna be there. Yeah, she suggested it actually. Said she really enjoyed talking to everyone at my party. Why? I could barely breathe. No reason. I'll have to check with Sarah about tonight. Cool, let me know. We're meeting at Murphy's at 7 if can make it. I hung and stared at my phone. Emma wasn't giving me 24 hours. She was forcing a confrontation night in public, in front of Jake and whoever else showed. This was her revenge. Not just telling the truth but making it as possible. Sarah appeared in the doorway. Was that Jake? Did he invite us somewhere? I could have said no. Could have claimed we had other plans. Instead some self-destructive part of me said drinks at Murphy's at 7. Emma and some of her coworkers will be there too. That sounds fun. Sarah smiled. I liked Emma. She seemed really sweet. Sweet. Right, we got a Murphy's at 7:15. Jake had reserved a big table in the back, and there were already 8 or 9 people there. Emma was sitting at the far end wearing a black dress that made her look like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was. Jake called out, waving us over. Sarah, remember Emma, right? Of course. Sarah smiled warmly and gave Emma a friendly hug. Good to see you again. Emma smiled back, but her eyes found mine over Sarah's shoulder. The look she gave me was pure. We all settled in ordering drinks and appetizers. For about an hour, everything seemed normal. Emma was charming and friendly, asking Sarah about her job, complimenting her earrings. If I didn't know better, I'd think she'd changed her mind about the ultimatum. But I could feel the tension building. Emma kept glancing at her phone, like she was waiting for something. At 8:30, she stood and tapped her glass with a fork. Sorry everyone, I just wanted to say something. She announced loudly enough to quiet the whole table. My heart stopped. Jake, thanks so much for inviting me tonight. I've really enjoyed getting no family over the past few weeks. She looked directly at me. Some members more than others. Sarah squeezed my hand under the table. She had no idea what was coming. Actually, Emma continued, her voice getting louder. I have a confession to make, about how well I've gotten to know some people here. I said quietly, desperately. Don't, but she was already past the point of no return. See, I've been having an affair, she announced to the entire table. To the entire restaurant, with someone sitting at this very table. The silence was deafening. I could feel everyone's eyes darting around, trying to figure out who she meant. Sarah's hand went limp in mine. Jake asked, looking genuinely confused. Emma's smile was sharp as a blade. Why don't ask him? She pointed directly at me. Ask cousin how many times he's been to my apartment while his girlfriend was at home planning their future together. The table erupted. Jake's mouth fell open. Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. Someone gasped. Someone else said, oh my god. But all I could hear was Sarah's voice, quiet and broken. Is that true? I looked at her face and watched 4 years of love in real time. The trust in her eyes just disappeared. Replaced by something I'd never seen before. Something that looked like she was seeing a complete stranger. Sarah, I can explain. Is it true? Each word came out like ice. I could have kept lying. Could have denied everything, claimed Emma was crazy or jealous or making it. Instead, looking at Sarah's devastated face, I finally told the truth. Yes, Sarah stood so fast her chair fell backward. She grabbed her purse and coat and headed for the door without another word. I started to follow her, but Jake grabbed my arm. Air out of mind, he hissed. Sarah. Really? After everything she's done for? I shook him off and ran after her, but she was already getting into an Uber. I banged on the window. Sarah, please, let me explain. She looked at me through the glass and I saw something that will haunt me forever. Not anger. Not even. Just complete emptiness. Like I'd killed something inside her that could never come back to. The car pulled away. I stood on the sidewalk outside Murphy's, watching the taillights disappear, and realized I'd lost the best thing that had ever happened to me for someone who'd just destroyed my for sport. When I went back inside to get my jacket, the table was empty except for Jake. Everyone left, he said without looking at me. Emma seemed pretty pleased with herself. Jake, I don't. He stood. I don't want to hear it. Sarah didn't deserve this. She loved more than deserved, and it away for what? A few hours with someone who just humiliated in front of everyone we know. He was right. Emma hadn't just told the truth. She'd weaponized it, turned my confession into a public, and I'd handed her the axe. I went home to an empty apartment. Sarah had been efficient. Her clothes were gone. Her books, her coffee mug, the plants she'd insisted on buying. Even her toothbrush. She'd left her key on the kitchen counter with a note. I'll get the rest of my things, we're not here. Don't contact me. That was 3 months ago. I never heard from Emma again after that night. Found out later she'd quit her job the next week and moved back to whatever city she came from. David, apparently, had broken with her when he found out about the affair. So she'd lost her relationship too, but unlike me, she didn't seem to care. I tried texting Sarah once 2 weeks after everything imploded. Just, I'm sorry. At 2 a.m. when the loneliness was eating me alive, she blocked my number. I heard through Jake's girlfriend that Sarah moved across the country for a job opportunity. She's doing well, apparently, dating someone new. Someone who doesn't make her question her worth, or wonder if the person lying next to her is thinking about someone else. I'm still in the same apartment, sleeping alone in the bed we used to share. Still working at the same job that made me feel so invisible I decided to down my for a few moments of feeling important. The promotion I'd wanted so badly. Got it 2 months after Sarah left. Turns out it doesn't mean much when have nobody to celebrate with. I keep thinking about that moment at Murphy's. The exact second Sarah's face changed when she realized the man she loved was a stranger. How Emma smiled while she watched it happen. How easily 4 years of trust disintegrated with one sentence. I did this. Not Emma, not my job stress, not feeling overlooked at a family party. Me, I made a choice to betray the person who loved me most, and I kept making that choice every single day for weeks. Jake doesn't talk to me anymore. Sarah's friends cross the street when they see me. My parents know what happened, and the disappointment in their voices when they call is almost worse than the loneliness. I traded the love of my for someone who was using me to her own boyfriend, and I was too selfish and to see it until it was too late. So here I am at 3 a.m., writing this to strangers on the internet because I have nobody left to tell. If we're reading this and are thinking about cheating, about how good it might feel to be wanted by someone new, about how partner won't find out, or won't be that, stop. Whatever think or gaining isn't worth what are about to lose. I know cause I lost everything, and the person I lost it for didn't even stick around to watch me. The worst part isn't that I broke Sarah's heart. It's that I broke mine too. And I'm the only one who deserves to live with the pieces.